Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course from New Earth One Network. This is designed exclusively for your higher self connection and embodiment.
Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Thank you for being here today for this special call. We have a very, very special guest with us here today, creator of Academy for the Soul, Christel Hughes. She's here to share with us about sexual healing, bringing you back to wholeness by healing past shame, anger, and trauma. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda Hopkins. I'm host for Academy Discovery Series, an online international summit, Academy Master Teacher with Academy for the Soul. And I'm a medical intuitive known for my wizard-like ability to peer deeply into your physical body and clairvoyantly identify any deficiencies compromising your physical health and overall well-being, and then using the power of sacred symbols to open you up to your greatest state of vitality. Now, I know that sexual hurt, trauma, abuse, and the aftermath of these can feel really difficult to bring up and especially to face. But I want you to know that Christel and I are here. We're holding a very supportive and loving space for you to really be here, fully present with us in this deep discussion so that you can feel like you're safe to bring up these deeper dynamics. And for those of you who know Christel, you'll already know that you can feel really safe to open to what's being called forth through her here today. And you're going to be held in that loving support so that you can have that courage and that strength to bring it up and let it go so that you can be free. So even now, as we're starting to bring this subject into this space, bring your attention to your breath. Notice the flow of your breath. Allowing yourself to slow your breath down just a little bit, relaxing and settling into your body, really opening to what's available for you here today as I share with you about Christel Hughes. Christel's a leading pioneer in emotional management and energetic relationship strategies. As a multidimensional visionary and highly sought-after, multi-sensory intuitive, she's inspired hundreds of thousands of people around the world with her breakthrough methods for living free from fear and emotional sabotage. Christel is known as the spiritual trainer to the stars due to her work supporting celebrities and opening up their gifts and setting healthy boundaries as they go public and claim their unique power in their fields. We know her as the brilliant teacher that sees right through each person to their higher self and courageously guides each one down the path to discovering their unique intuitive gifts and then leading them into offering those gifts into the world. And she is such a master at this. So I'm so pleased to bring Christel on. Christel, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hi, beautiful community. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. I know that this subject, going deep into that shame, fear, guilt, we don't always want to go there. It is so important, though, for us to dive into that subject, to go deep very quickly, to make an assessment of what's happening so that you can then come out of that to be brilliant, to be illuminated, and express your true self. You have to recognize your power to live in a place where you're the receiver of that light and allow that to turn into passion, to turn into love, to support you with the creations that the divine wants to co-create with you. And now is the time. This is the perfect time. So thank you for being here today. And it's really wonderful to be in this space as an opportunity to grow together.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh, I love what you said about being illuminated. And I know when we talk about this subject of sexual shame and fear and guilt, along with that, there comes that energy of violation that can really stop us from feeling safe to open and allow that illumination in. So I know, Christel, that you're going to be doing some readings for us about those violations and where of the spirit and where they're being held. So I appreciate that. I mean, I'm sure that many of the guests today are going to open up and be illuminated with what you have to say, and especially in identifying where that prevention from being illuminated is. So, before we get into that illuminated space where we're all really shining and glowing, would you like to start by sharing with us a little bit more about your story and how you came upon this deep subject of shame, guilt, and sexual healing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just before sharing the depth of my story, I know that we all have had moments where there's been some kind of intrusion of sorts. Either there was someone who inappropriately touched us. If someone inappropriately touched you, they send this kind of mini shock wave through your nervous system, right? And that's the vibration in which they connected to you. And that vibe has an energy. It may be a vibration of someone wanting something from you, to take something from you, or there's an agenda with that. So, maybe you've had someone even steal from you and you felt that you were robbed in that moment when you realized they took your idea, right? So there's many ways that we can feel that level of intrusion. And when we don't give permission ahead of time for some sort of experience or interaction that we're involved in, we do feel robbed in that moment. We feel robbed from being able to make a choice. And so we want to look at that, and we want to look at the power of the feminine, and we want to see how the voice of our feminine nature, and that doesn't matter if you've incarnated male or female in this lifetime, but your female version has a specific vibrational connection to the divine, and she is the one that holds that wisdom in that moment, the intuition to make a choice to allow someone to enter or to hold that boundary and to keep them in place so that it's healthy. So making a powerful choice in a moment is really equal to feeling free, to feeling that freedom and exhilaration that comes with it. It's what we're all looking to feel in our lives. And in that larger scope, these moments that I had from my childhood kind of faded into the background, right? I know many here that are listening right now have had moments that were very painful, that were very traumatic, or they were just impactful. As simple as someone turning and giving you this kind of evil eye stare down, when you did something wrong, right? That's impactful. That can be very traumatic. And upon that inner inspection, you know, they're laced with uncertainty of worth, people that have experienced these moments, proclivities to addictive behaviors, and just holding old hurt and pain, really deep pain within the being. But the tendency is to let them fade in the background. And so for me, in really sharing my story, that's where I have to go back, and I have to go back to my childhood. And many of you know that there's been experiences that I've faced, but if you haven't heard this story, I really want you to be present to not just looking at it as, oh, that happened to Christel, but that these are things that are occurring right now. There are things that are going on. I'm going to be sharing with you that other children are experiencing right now. And I want all of us to get deep into that compassionate heart, because this isn't a call like other calls. We all really need to pay attention. There's dynamics going on in the world, and our children are being hurt. And for me, I had energy dynamics that were occurring in my life that had me actually be taken away from my mom. And my mom and father had this kind of precarious relationship, very passionate, but very abusive. And what occurred was they got into these horrible fights and battles, and it was physical, and it was physically abusive. And out of that, my father decides he's going to leave California and fly out to Arkansas. And then that summer, he calls for me, and my mom puts me on this plane. And so there I go, away from my mom. And it ended up being for 10 months. I was literally kidnapped. And my mom, I wasn't even allowed to talk to her on the phone. If I started crying, I get the phone ripped out of my hands. But the crazy piece of this is that I ended up living with my great-grandmother and my great-aunt. And my father and I shared a bedroom. And my father would go out drinking and drugging, and literally he would black out. But many times he would come home, and because I was in the bed with him in his crazy drunken state, I was being sexually molested. And I knew my dad was sick. I knew that, he was going into these crazy blackouts. But imagine me as this little girl, 9 years old, having to wear a full-on, little zip-up suit that has, it's like the pajamas that have the little sleeves and everything. Like, I was trying to protect myself by wearing this, pajama outfit. It's like, that's crazy when you think about what does that do to someone? What does that do to someone? And so for me, being in that place and feeling the intensity of that moment where I couldn't get out. And think about this. I didn't know my dad's family because I didn't grow up with them. So who was I to come to? And I couldn't talk to my mom because they wouldn't let me. This was a highly intensive situation that imprinted into my being this deep level of trauma and suffering and anxiety and no way out. And it was really intense to feel that depth of invasion, and especially from someone that I was supposed to be able to trust.
That's one of the hardest things. It's when it's mom or dad or someone you can trust and that's breached. That's an intense energy, and I think that there are probably ways that people can relate to that, even if it's not the same intensity as what you experienced, right? So there may be some who can appreciate the intensity, and maybe they've had something similar, but I know that there are also other subtle ways. You mentioned even the leering in the eye. So, I'm wondering through that. I know I've seen this held in the physical body. When I've looked at symptoms showing up for people, I see a lot of times it tracing back to sexual trauma. And I'm wondering what's the deeper impact that you've seen energetically on someone who suffers from this abuse or misuse of power, and especially when it's somebody that's supposed to love and take care of you and protect you.
it throws a person into this kind of chronic hypervigilant state. And, you know, always being on the lookout for the next invasion, right? What's going to happen? I mean, ultimately for me, as a child, you know, even after my mom actually moved with us, back with us, and we had a home, all of us together in family, well, my father was still doing his drinking and drugging, and so was still very physically abusive. I mean, where we would lock ourselves into the room and he'd be beating down the door and shooting through the door. I mean, crazy things, you know, like literally, like just things that would be someone's worst nightmare to have their child go through. So what that does to a person energetically with the imprinting in the person's being, it can be an energetic imprint of the trauma in the emotional body, and the mind can't wrap their head around it. And so what happens is the mental body starts to warp, and it starts to shift and warp into these strange ways of actually trying to be protective. So it creates these kind of warped turtle shell energy structures in the mental body. And, you know, I didn't feel comfortable on the outside. I didn't feel comfortable just being open and a creative child. You know, it always hurt me. And it even impacted me in a way where I was so impacted by just having someone touch me. On the one hand, there was a drive to actually be revengeful and almost rebellious and almost to be promiscuous. But of course, that didn't happen because I was too afraid. And finally getting into the relationship with my first husband, I was even in pain at some times when he would touch me in certain ways. My body was reacting as if I was being intruded upon, even though this was someone I chose to be with. Now, eventually that turned into abuse as well. But see, there's people that are holding this in their body, and their emotional and mental body are in such trauma that it's really hurtful even for them to have sex, to allow anyone to physically penetrate. And that had happened with me off and on in 2 marriages that I had, where I would shrink back, turn away from my husband, all the way down to not being able to open my body to have an orgasm, and to feel the tension, the tightness, where I had to mentally, like, prepare myself so much to actually just open my body, because I was so used to having sex equal some kind of invasive, abusive experience from a perpetrator, right? So that is an experience emotionally and mentally. And I know that there's people that have experienced some kind of abuse, mental abuse or sexual abuse, and they don't even remember it. You know, maybe it is you, and maybe, you know, it's like going in, and it happened so long ago that the memory is way down in there, way down in the basement. And it's sitting there in the basement. Nobody wants to open the basement door. You know, nobody wants to really go down there. It's kind of cold and dark, right? But it's necessary to clear that. And so what happens, Amanda, is sometimes people that have been victims to an experience of some sort of trauma or even obsessiveness, like their mother's overly obsessive with them, controlling, manipulative. If you've had a passive-aggressive type situation that you grew up in, that's traumatic to your little self, right? Because what happens is you can't trust. You can't trust. They say they're going to do something, but they don't do it, and they don't follow through, and then they're passive aggressive, and then, you know, basically they say, oh, I'm fine, but then it comes back as a backlash. This starts to create some sort of addiction in people. People are driven to some type of addiction. And we see that childhood, adolescent, especially sexual abuse, damages the developing human being and their psyche, right? And there's some common secondary symptoms of abuse survivors that we see. And what we see is anger management issues, isolation, loneliness, feelings of abandonment, could go into depression. We're looking at eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, hoarding of your food, overeating, hiding your food and then eating it when no one sees, body image issues. You could become a workaholic and just like channel your energy into that. Of course, substance abuse, sexual dysfunction or confusion around that. Even as deep as I've had clients who have done self-mutilation, cutting themselves, burning themselves. So, you know, the obvious ones, anxiety, fear, hypervigilance, sleeping disorders, but it can also go into the dysfunction of relationships, intimacy problems, trust issues, feeling disconnected from self, from others, from God, you know, that spiritual void, disillusionment. Everyone take a breath.
That's a big one, yeah. That's
it
source
goes
of support
deep.
not being available, just feeling totally isolated and alone. I mean, that's a deep wound, that separation from God's source energy. Now, Christel, the examples that you experienced, I mean, so intense and so traumatic. Can people experience abuse and this sort of violation energy, even if it's more subtle? Have you seen where it's more subtle and it still has this deep level of impact on somebody?
Yes. You know, it can be in the air. You know, it can literally be in the air. If you've had the experience of someone intimidating you, bullying you, if you've had experiences of being rejected or abandoned, not met in a loving relationship, if you've had someone steal your money, you know, steal your creative power. I mean, we're in a space where we're looking at things not just on the physical level, but we're looking energetically. So again, we're looking at someone allowing the doors to be open, if you will, for people to court them or to, you know, siphon energy out and away from them. We see implants. You know, these are the types of things, hooks, where someone's hooking you. So again, you know, if you've had this, and it doesn't have to just be in this life, it can be in past lives. You know, this is an experience that we have to look at all across this. There's an entire spectrum of emotions that we look at. And what we see is that the degree to which the trauma is embedded in the energetic system is based on the intensity of the emotion felt at that time, right? And a lot of the emotion that we're looking at is shame. And that can even be from a religious figure, you know, or the culture, a religious culture that your family holds where they're shaming you. One of the things that Brene Brown said, love her, right? Brene Brown says that shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we're capable of change, right? And so you can get this visual of the corrosion of the aspect of us, the true nature of us that believes, that knows that we are an infinite being. And yet that shame that we hold actually can corrode, it can eat away at our being and that being, because we put it somewhere. And this is what I want to make sure that we do talk about, you know, the violation that happens and what occurs because of that violation. We hold it somewhere. And we put it somewhere. And that is a way that actually we defend ourselves.
Wow. I think it's so important to recognize that even if we don't remember, you mentioned sometimes people don't remember the abuse, and I've seen that before where someone would swear nothing happened, and as we dug deeper into that unconscious mind, it came to the surface. And like you said, maybe this lifetime or in the air, so I think it's really important to realize this could be impacting without us even realizing it, or being able to trace it back to something that we recall happening in our life. And so you mentioned the violations. What are the violations of spirit that come up with this?
When you think about the role of the feminine spirit, overarching, right? There's divine masculine and divine feminine spirit. Energy is consciousness that is literally pouring down onto this planet. And there's a willing, please, rise up. And there's a violation that occurs with the depth of the spirit, and it impacts, it's like an intrusion on our physical body and on these other levels of manipulation that inhibits that true spirit from shining brightly. In fact, it doesn't even allow us to receive all of that vibrational essence of Divine Mother and Divine Father because we don't feel worthy. As I was doing some deeper healing work, I was in meditation, and all of a sudden, like literally, I was shown this greater vision of how so many people, it was intense, like the universe just opened up and started showing me the shame, guilt, fear that everyone is holding. And I remember as a child being so strong and having a really strong warrior-like spirit and saying about what had happened to me, I'm not going to let people know this. I'm going to keep this as a secret. No one's ever going to find this out. And what happened is my mission as that child actually came to be keep the secret hidden, right? Shut down your spirit. And I was just so sad inside as a deeper layer under the beauty of my smile. Of course, I'm still laughing, still engaging in life, but underneath, I was so sad inside in my younger years, trying to put on a smile when I was with my girlfriends, but not letting them know what was happening, that I was afraid to go home. I was afraid to go back to the house because I didn't know what state my dad was going to be in when I opened that door. What was it going to be like? Was he going to be drunk? Was he going to be throwing beer bottles? And, what's going on? And I didn't want to let them in on it because, of course, they were going to be afraid. And their mother or father wouldn't let them ever come over to my house to play, and maybe I thought that they wouldn't even let them be a friend. And so all of these things weighed on me. But there was this secret code of silence, you see, and it's established on the emotional level. And this aspect starts to weigh the risks of telling the secret or not, and choosing how to react in those moments. And with that, there's all these sensory feelings. When you've had some sort of experience, it's kind of literally seared. It's like seared in your memory. The smells, the sounds of what happened. And it's important, it's vital for us to go back and to access that journal where we keep, right? It's like we keep the records because our interpretation of what happened isn't real. We actually hold a video. We hold a video. So there's an emotion, there's a picture, an image, a video, and that's in our energy field. And we have control over clearing that. We don't have to have this code of silence like I had. I don't want people to feel like, oh, no, I don't want to go there, because if I go there, it's just going to open this can of worms. It's going to be too much. It's going to be too big. I'm not going to be able to handle it. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I now have been through it. I know how to heal it in a loving, nurturing way. But I took on this code of silence. And, you know, have you noticed, Amanda, I'm sure you have, that if someone does something that's inappropriate, not very many people speak up about it or speak out about it.
No,
right?
a lot of times it's kind of that looking around and go, is somebody going to say something or do something? Should I say something? You know, it's like you can kind of see people questioning, but there's a definitely at the very least a hesitation or a pause to consider what might happen if I speak up or speak out. I've definitely witnessed
And this
that
is the point. Yeah, this is the point. You know, for me, my persona that had basically fractured off and had to take control was this keeper of the secrets. And she was holding all of this.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people can probably relate. You know, whenever there's any kind of abuse or trauma, so often we close it up, we lock it away, we hide it, even from ourselves, as a way to protect or to not have to feel the fullness of it, because it's so overwhelming, and the nervous system has already been highly impacted and is, you know, sensitive at this point. And so, you know, I'm sure many people can relate to this feeling of like, I have to keep everything locked up and locked in. And a lot of times, too, you're told in that situation, don't tell anybody. So, you know, for you, that translated into this keeper of the secrets. And I can imagine that maybe some people have some form of this, but can you explain a little bit more about this keeper of the secrets?
Yeah, this keeper of the secrets, when I actually started doing this deeper work in, you know, when I turned 30, and when I went in, I'm almost 50 now. But this keeper of the secrets was an aspect of my being that took on the role to hold this journal of secrets. And, you know, there was many more secrets in my family. And I was the keeper of those as well. And so here I've got this journal of secrets. Think of it literally as a big book in the history. And it's holding all the secrets. They're written there, but they were never spoken about. And that is held inside my being. And I found her. And she's like this silent sufferer, you know. It's like, she was just dark and sad, and she was holding this journal. And when I looked at her, I saw the depth of the suffering, but how the secrets were eating her up alive, right? The secrets were eating her up, which was me. It was eating me up. And we have our secrets locked up. And this journal has the pictures. It has the videos. It holds the memories. We have everything that our mind has made up about it in regard to the situation or what happened. And this is the looping around. If you've ever had an experience that caught you off guard or blindsided you, it was so intense and you kept playing it over and over in your mind, it's like that moment. And, you know, we hear someone maybe doing something, saying something, and again, we go in and we kind of check to see, well, is it appropriate for me to share about this? Because most of us, our throat chakra is closed down. We haven't been given the right to stand up to authority, and especially with the feminine. Let's just speak truth, right? And the beauty of our container as this energetic being is that our being is literally created to channel pure life force energy and to bring it into creation, to bring the vibrations into creation, into some creation. And we haven't been given the opportunity. We've not been given that opportunity to stand up to authority. I mean, think about communicating with our parents. Right? We don't have the authority to do that. At least I didn't when I was growing up. You know, and we can feel what's true in our body. We can feel what's right in our bodies. And when we feel these things of untruth, we know when it's inappropriate. Our bodies are so intelligent that we cannot pretend when it's inappropriate. We know what's appropriate. We know what's inappropriate. And we haven't been given permission to communicate when something just doesn't feel right, when it makes us feel sad, when something's off. And we want to use our body as the one vessel that calibrates truth. But for most of us, we haven't been given permission to do that. And it's not been acceptable to say that doesn't feel right to me, especially to someone who is older than us, who has some kind of position, who's in authority. And so this journal of secrets, we each have one. It's not like you don't have it, you're a man and you don't have it. No. You have a feminine aspect in you. If you incarnated as a man, you also have this journal of secrets. And the wounded feminine is the one that's the holder of this journal of secrets.
Well, Christel, as you're talking about the journal of the secrets, I'm seeing a bunch of journals pop up. There's a lot of journals in this group. Some are really big, some are a little bit smaller, but I am seeing, this appears to be a common theme, where, this is so brilliant you brought this out, because I'm willing to bet, I know I didn't know if I ever had a journal of secrets, and I'm willing to bet that most people don't realize they're even holding this. Some people, it looks like it's even bigger than they are. And it's I've seen this pattern where that throat shuts down and people don't want to communicate. They don't feel safe. And it creates physical body symptoms. I mean, that's how intense it is. Our body tries to tell us there's something going on. It tries to point us back to, hey, there's this big journal of secrets. So how does somebody know? How are these secrets held in the four bodies?
Yes, in an intense way. But like I said, in a way that we can actually shift it. Now having opened to my intuitive gifts in the way that I have, and being able to go back and recognize where I held this and the journal, I held it in my sacral chakra, and of course in my whole being, but in that sacred place. That sacral chakra, that's the place for us to be creators, to give birth, right? Literally to give birth. And I have this horrible fear. And it was crazy for me because over the course of my lifetime, I had carried up and through my 30s, I had this horrible fear literally of giving birth to a baby. I was always really apprehensive, and it was like, oh, no, and getting into relationship, it was like, oh, man, because there was that push-pull. But I actually had that horrible fear because literally that whole area, it just seemed like something wasn't right. Something wasn't right, and I wasn't strong enough down there, I mean, literally, it's like if anyone's ever been raped or if you've had an abortion, you have experienced this shame and it's down there. And, that's the level of intensity. And, not feeling worthy enough. For me personally, it was this question, do I feel worthy enough to have a beautiful, loving, co-creative relationship and then to bring a beautiful baby into the world? So we have to look at this. We say we want a beautiful, loving relationship. We say that we want to be in that experience of love and to become love so that we can attract that beloved, right, or the intimacy. But we haven't shifted all the way deep down to the core of us because it shows up in our society, doesn't it? It shows up in the world.
Oh, my goodness.
And we haven't shifted it yet. And it's required of us to go through that initiation of shifting and be able to then take a stand for truth through our whole being, through every area of life. So I call it, looking into the four bodies. The four bodies are suffering. And some of us, the four bodies, one body, energetic body is suffering from abuse or misuse of power. Again, this can be misuse of power. This can be some sort of invasive energy. And this is what's been going on in the masculine in our society, misuse of power, very much in our face. And there's a shift that's happening right now. The feminine's coming so strongly now. In 2012, I launched Divine Feminine Reawakening because I already knew I had felt the energy shift from that initial, 1988, where we had that convergence point. And the four bodies, the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, we have to heal on all four of these levels, heal the wounds, and to reconnect the four bodies. So to really heal the wound, make a shift, be able to then allow the energy to be received as light through our bodies to feel worthy. And as it moves through the four main energy bodies, it allows us to then shine. There's a sparkle, there's a radiance, and we can be in our feminine strength and be in the balance of the masculine and feminine to actually embody our own divinity as our higher self. What's an important piece of that is something that I have observed and that I also had, because as you guys know me, I go through it, I see it, I find the culprit, I find what occurs in the energetic system, and then I share it, and then I say, let's heal this, and I help you heal it. I don't just leave you hanging there. But there are walls of delusion, okay? Walls of delusion. We are delusional right now, people. We are in the Maya. We are mired in the Maya and delusion. And we have to break these walls of delusion down. We've got to come out. Because these walls of delusion have been put up based upon what you think society wants you to be, what society has told you you should be. And you learn to become what you think others want you to be, especially when you're in a relationship, family relationship, lover relationship, right? In a lover relationship, in the beginning, you put on this whole act. Silently, you're in there, right? Having a conversation with yourself, trying to figure out what's going to please that person, right? And what's going to happen if you really break out and tell the truth about what your needs are, what your wants are. And you'll go again wanting to share that because you have a greater desire to be accepted, because you think that your truth, if it's disruptive to them, that they're not going to love you anymore, and you want to please them. And then you might swing the whole other way and then get really defensive and then cause an argument, right? So there is a time where you can come out of having to be hardened, to kind of put up this defense mechanism to show your strength, because now you're trying to protect your heart. You don't want to become hard. You don't want to be shutting down. It's really sad to see women hardening themselves in order to protect themselves and not recognizing that they're really wanting to break down and tear down these walls. That's what there is to do. To just grow and expand, to be bright, to allow yourself to be flowing in the beauty and the light of this truth. You have to now really take action. Allow yourself to flourish, to just simply utilize the energies that are there for you. And so, yes, that experience of shame, that guilt, all of that you had that was running you and having you run away from the truth, from something maybe for a time, but you pushed it back and you walled yourself up. And unfortunately, that has to come down. And I say that, unfortunately it has to come down because you do have to be the one to take the action to break that old structure down, and you're going to be going through a remodeling while you're still living at home in your body. But we can do it in a way that will actually allow you to move forward, to be in the flow and that divine blossoming. So again, you know, it doesn't matter if you chose to get an abortion and you've got shame about that, or you have guilt because maybe you lost a child, you know, or that you found that you're abusing your own body by the way that you're eating or what you've done. It's really intense to face the shame, the guilt, to bring it up. And I want you to recognize that no matter what level you feel like you're not in control, it's okay. I've worked with people that really have gone to these extremes and you know, they've gone into the addiction and even sexual addiction and again, you know, being promiscuous. So we're talking about going into those 4 levels of being and to just really allow yourself to be in the place where you know that you can shift that paradigm from your ancestry. You don't have to live this way anymore. We can really make a huge difference. We can start a new feminine wave of consciousness flowing into this world. We can awaken and we can be here fully present and we can heal the violations that have been placed upon our spirit.
Yes, healing those violations. I mean, there's an intensity to what she's been bringing up, you know, and just kind of feeling into the energy of the group. There's an intensity, but there's also a lot of support. Like I'm really feeling the presence of the support and the holding. And I know that's one of the things that I love about you, Christel, is you always, like you said, you always have that support available. You have the support to bring the clarity to something so that it can be moved through so that people can access that point of power and go, okay, I'm choosing to look at this, to figure out what's going on and shift that, move out of that, because the reality is if that's sitting there in the unconscious and we're not facing it, it's affecting us in ways we can't even imagine all across the board. So I appreciate that you're willing to really take us there. And I know that people are wanting to know what specifically is going on for them. So would it be a good time for us to start, have you talk to some of the callers and do some of these readings for the violations of spirit?
I'd like to do that, and I want everyone to know that when I read you, as I tune into your higher self and I read where these violations are in looking in the 4 bodies, I'm doing that because I want you to take that information and going into the sexual healing workshop, that's what you can use. You'll know, okay, here's what I need to clear. This is a priority. We'll be doing some really deep clearing in the workshop, and especially, you know, going in and clearing the aspects. Like I had that one that was the keeper of secrets and the suffering, right? That one that was suffering. But I want you to think about it in this way. This isn't just a reading so that, ooh, this is cool, Christel's going to read me. You know, again, please act on this. Do something. Because the reading is a healing in itself of bringing light to the darkness, getting, you know, the light in the basement, if you will, shining the flashlight on it. But if you don't do something about it, what are we doing here? Why are we here? And we can't just rely on the same old methods. We have to now really rise up and say, look, we are at a place in society where, yes, we've got to do something profound. We have to take action. And it's not just enough for you if you know someone in your family that's been traumatized or abused, or if you have a friend, do it for them. You know, stand up, take a stand, do it for the greater feminine spirit. And so I want you to really take that in as I go in to read where these violations are, you know, in your being. It's to use it and to shift it. And you can bring that to the sexual healing workshop that we're going to be doing to really bring you back to wholeness.
Thank you for that opportunity. It is so important. We don't want to just shine the light on an issue and then let it sit there. It's like leaving a festering mess sitting there. Like you see a rotten fruit in the cupboard, you're going to clear it out. You're not going to leave it to sit there and rot and make things worse in that cupboard. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that we're cleaning that up, and creating a nice clear space. And, it's so true. When we do the inner work, it creates a foundation for the whole collective. So I love that you said that we really want to think about who do we care about, that we want to support in doing our own work. All right, so let's come over to the phone line. We're going to start in California. Last 4 digits of this phone number are 9632. Hello.
Hi, it's Renee, and
Hi.
Amanda and Christel. I'm so excited I get to talk to you again.
Yay,
and,
hi.
Yeah, because I've been really working through a lot of stuff in my life, and this is huge.
I know, sweetie. It's in your emotional body. What's happening as I see it, it's gripping you right now. There's like a hand that's coming in, and it's really got your heart, and it's gripping you. And when we look at the depth of that gripping hand, it comes from a past life experience where it's almost like the culture had such a stronghold on you, like this is the right way to do this. And if you don't do it this way, then you're violating the pact, right? Like this is the oath that you took. And so there's this double bind within you. It's really hard for you to come into that place of wholeness, but we can support you with that, okay? So what I want you to know is the energy is in the emotional body. What we're seeing is an aspect that's really scared out of her mind because she thinks that she's going against the pact that she made and that would lead to like hell damnation death, like eternal death of the soul, okay? So that's what we're looking at for you. Don't worry, it's okay. We're going to pull that out. We're going to do this deeper clearing in the workshop, and you'll be set free, and then you can literally heal and take ownership of your heart again and your own emotional and mental body. Like what does the universe want me to know and believe? Okay?
So that's why I allowed it to happen in this life? Because of that fear?
Absolutely.
At 2 times that I know of, and then shame, so 3 different situations that I remember, and was, a part of one of them. And so I can't remember if it was you or Amanda that talked about 23 past lifetimes ago or something. I was persecuted, and so I'm not sure if this is a follow-over from that. And that one of the things I want to share with you, and I want to share with everyone, so everyone really gets the degree to which what I'm offering in this workshop. It's not just energy clearing; it's a literal deletion of the experience. So this is something that you don't want to miss, and it's something that you don't want to not have. You want to be able, no matter what, to have this way to literally delete these very deep, impactful experiences. One of the things that happen is I've been married twice, and I had my first husband got in a car accident, got onto prescription drugs, injured his back, and became a heroin addict and very abusive, okay? And then the second one that I married was a doctor, got addicted to drugs, wrote his own prescriptions, had a back injury because of an accident, and became abusive. And the degree to this abuse, if I could tell you the feeling of the intensity of a rising moment where you're literally, you get the hairs on your arms standing up and the back of your neck standing up when you know you're about to be, grabbed and raped or hurt or, had your head banged on the floor. Like, these are intense moments. How do you
clear that? How do you clear a moment when you're actually in a horrific car accident? You know, when you have post-traumatic stress disorder and now you can't even get back in your car because you're so deeply associated to the experience of the car accident that you now are anxious and nervous. How do you clear those things? This is what we're going to be doing. So I just want to give hope to everyone on this call. I know that there's levels of intensity that you have experienced in past lives or in this lifetime. But I also want you to know, again, I'm extending this to you, that I've discovered how to literally delete this and all the images and all the memories and all the emotions that go with it out of your timeline. So you never have to replay that video again in your mind. You don't have to do it. You can move on. Like me, I now have a beautiful, beloved relationship, right? A harmonious relationship. So know that you can be in your power. You hear me speaking my truth right on this call. It's here. Okay? So let's keep going.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful example. Thank you, Christel. You're the example of I figured it out. I did it. Now here I'm making it available for you. So thank you for that. I want to go back to this online, but I want to read this question from the Q&A box. Elena from Oregon says, I had my heart broken not once but twice by the death of my twin flame, 21 years, and then by my soulmate, 13 years, when he died of a heart attack. First time around, I was able to get reborn out of ashes, but after the second death, my heart has been wounded so deeply I've not recovered my ability to open up and love again. Please help.
Yeah, well, looking at that, you know, one of the things that we have to see is the degree of attachment to what you made that mean. And so I'm going to read for you in the mental body. It's not in the emotional body. It's actually a mental attachment to what you made that relationship mean for you. In other words, being with that person made you defined. You defined yourself in a certain way, and now it's time for you to come into your own knowing. The definition of your being comes from flowing light through you and being a co-creator with the divine in real time, okay? So for you, it's in the mental body, and we're looking at the persona, the aspect of you that gets her definition of her own self based on her relationship.
Thank you. So with that question, that, you know, what comes to mind, the workshop, that's something that people can use also if they've experienced that sense of loss, deep loss.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not even kidding you when I say we're literally deleting experiences. You know, pain, suffering. It's not that we're not processing the emotions. We're processing in a feminine way. See, for so many lifetimes, we have processed and even done our healing in a masculine way. It's been a way of hunting, finding, going back into the pain, experiencing the pain. Well, guess what? Now we're doing it differently. We've been awakened enough as a collective. We're doing it much faster. That doesn't mean we're not going back to the point of pain, but we're allowing ourselves to shift in ways where we're being more witness observer and taking our power to shift the emotional frequency tones and bindings that cement this into our being, okay? So we're literally going to be doing this deletion process, and it can be anything from, you know, traumatic experiences, like I said, of being shamed, being put down, playing a role in your family. Any of the personas, we're going to literally clear these personas as well. But a full-on deletion, like literally with my ex-husband, I can't recall those experiences of abuse. And it happened for 6 years. There's no, when I reach back to my past, there's no charge, there's no emotion, I can't even pull up images. I'm only telling you because I know that it happened, but when I share it with you, I'm not reliving anything because there's literally nothing there. It's like I've literally taken it out of my timeline, and it never happened. So I can be friends with my ex-husband through the forgiveness of that and the recognition of my own power.
That's so powerful. So powerful. That's come over to the phone line. We're going to Michigan. Last four digits are 2378. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Oh,
Hi.
I'm so excited. I am so excited. This call so resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my name is Destiny.
Okay. Let me just take a look. I'm just going to connect in with your higher self. And let's just see where that energy, that violation of spirit. It's actually up in the emotional body around the throat chakra. What happens for you is that you're a creative person. You actually are very creative, and you create through your clairaudience channel of the throat. And sometimes what happens is because you can communicate and express and share in ways of truth, people actually get defiant against you. Sometimes they'll turn against you. They'll turn their back against you. They'll reject your love and reject your truth. Okay? And so, you experience as a backlash wave of energy that makes you feel like you're not wanted. Okay? So this is the deep suffering in this lifetime and in past lives, and it goes back to the I'm not wanted in a past life. I'm looking at that 5 past lives ago. Okay? Yeah. But you are wanted, my divine child. That's what Divine Mother says. That you are wanted, divine child. You're so creative. You're an artist. And so it really is about letting yourself feel Divine Mother's arms around you. Let yourself feel her holding you and loving you up. Okay? She wants to use you as this creative being channel for her. Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Beautiful.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Destiny. Yeah. Let's go to Australia. This is a web call. Hello.
Oh, hello.
There you
How
are.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh God, I didn't expect to be answered. It's so early here. I don't even know what to say. I've been trying to clear on multiple levels because I don't know. I don't really feel like I connect with. I've had a lot of past life issues come up relating all the abuse, and I've been trying to collectively, I suppose, clear it all, but I've found it really hard because I don't know. The images are still there, and I feel like, I don't know. It's kind of haunted me in this life, and I've found that it's manifested. I close off in my body. I used to feel dirty when I was younger. A lot of this stuff cleared up over the time, but I still feel like there's so many things that, I just try my best, but I just don't seem to be able to clear it. Erin.
What's your name?
Erin.
Okay. So Christel can help you get some clarity.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Let's look in. Here's the thing. Like I've already shared with everyone what the solution is, right? The solution is the deletion process, right? Because it has to be a safe container, but it has to be strong. It has to be so intense, right? To match the level of intensity of the visions you're seeing as a process, as an energetic clearing process. But it's fast. It's fast. So you're not reliving the intensity. And I think that's what's happening for you is you keep going in and out of the feeling of the intensity created by the visuals, by the images. So think of it like this. The images, if you had those images as pictures on the walls of your home, your actual home, how intense would that be? You're making dinner and you're seeing these horrific images. of the Holocaust or something, right? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's going into your food? It's the fear, it's the terror, it's the all that. What we have to look at is our aura is our home. And when we have experiences, past life, where are those carried? They're not in your brain. I'm not going to cut open the brain and see all the images. They're in your aura. The images are held in the aura. And so what's happening is that you're haunted because the visuals, the images, the videos of what occurred are hanging there. They're on the walls of your aura and they're playing spontaneously. Like you get a whiff of something that smelled like something that happened, and it's like, oh shit, I'm associated to this, and now I'm triggered, and here I spin out. Right? And it can be crazy things. Like, it can literally be, your association to a smell is like, for my dad, when I would get molested, it would be the smell of alcohol and cigarette smoke on the breath. Now, this is one of the things that is associated. So what would happen is, if I would go out and I couldn't date smokers, like there's no way, because if I smelled smoke on the breath, it would take me back. I would regress to that 9-year-old getting abused, right? So what's happening is you've got these images, videos, and they're playing when you don't even know that some part of you is hitting play because it's the association. And then you're literally reacting to that, and it's impacting you, okay? So for you, that's what's going on. I really would want to work on, for you, the emotional, mental, and physical, because it's taken out the lower chakras, okay? So those are the areas we need to work on for you.
Yeah. So the deleting process, it's not, it's a positive thing, obviously. I'm just unsure of how that affects, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a bad thing, but does it really take it away from timelines?
It takes it away. Now, see, you're bringing up something that's really cool, because I can hear an underlying part of you that's like, well, then am I actually going to be who I truly am if it's fully deleted from my timeline, right? Like, when we say deletion, I mean deletion. Does it actually make me less than the truth of who I am by not holding the videos of the things that happened to me and occurred with my ex-husband? Absolutely not. What has happened is now I'm freed up. I'm light. I mean, now, since I was 30 and I started doing all this energy work and deeper healing and learning how to really thoroughly is the key word here, clear. What's happened is I've actually just handed over my whole life to the divine. And I just literally live in the flow of the moment of each creation that is created through me based on the inspiration, the spark, the light, the energy, the motivation. It's all there. And what have we done? We've created Academy for the Soul. We're impacting literally hundreds of thousands of people. I'm more of my true self. I don't need to carry these pictures on the walls of my home to know that it happened. It's not healthy. And there's wounded parts of us that want to keep them there because they want to convince us that it's going to be scary without remembering those things. If you don't remember what happened to you, then you're not going to be able to protect yourself and recognize it when it comes next time. There doesn't need to be a next time. Your intuition and being present to your own feminine intuition, she is going to lead you. She'll lead you. And if you're meant to walk on the right side of the street, she'll tell you, move over to the right side of the street. There's some bad people coming down the left side. She will guide you. But you need to be in real time with your intuition, not trying to create protective mechanisms so you don't, forget what happened to you that was so bad so that next time something bad is about to happen, you're going to remember it. It's going to be too late then. So this is the craziness that we're all in, people. It's not one person. I'm exposing craziness, that this is the way our personas make us think. Hold on to that horrible experience so that you remember it when it happens again. No, we want you to avoid getting into it in the beginning. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking it's like the intention of that defense mechanism that you were talking about. Like, I don't know if I want to let it go. The intention, the higher intention is I want to protect you, but you're actually more protected deleting that and allowing yourself, like you said, to be connected into the intuition. So we want the deletions to clear out the stuff that's the not truth, which is what you're talking about. I love that.
Yeah.
Sherry from Indianapolis says, I was never touched, hugged, or told I love you from either of my parents. There were times I wish I was molested so I could twist it around in my head that my dad loved me. I made a lot of bad relationship choices. Any advice for me? Thank you.
Yes. So again, what we're focusing on is the aspect of you. And so we have to look at these as personas, right? The part of you that made up that, I wish this or I wish that. Those aspects aren't allowing you to just be you. Again, everyone, it's like all the things that have happened to us, what we're meant to do with that experience is to turn it into a lesson and take the vibration of the lesson as a frequency tone and carry that with us. Right? I'm going to take the lesson and I'm going to carry that. The personas, these aspects, they don't carry the lessons. They carry out twisted, skewed mental patterns and paradigms that have been passed down, right? One of the things that we're noticing is that persona with you, because she didn't get the energy of the love in the way that she thought she needed it to feel worthy, is that she started doing things to reach out for it, right? So what we've got to do is we've got to heal up the aspect that is acting out in the ways of unhealthy choices, choosing to experience things that are unhealthy, choosing people that are unhealthy, right? So that's what we have to work on with you, and that traces back to the emotional body. It's in your genealogical line on your father's side, 17 generations back.
Thank you. Christel, I think by now we're really seeing how important it is to do the full deletion, to really, do a deep clearing, not just clearing the emotion or the belief, but really going deep into the timeline. And you have put together something really amazing for us here today to help with that. So I would love to have you share with everyone about the workshop, a little bit more about the workshop and what's included. Christel, can you share with us a little bit more about the sexual healing workshop that you have here?
Yes. So just as deeply as I've spoken about the intensity in which we experience some sort of trauma or invasive energy, we have to go just as deep. And so this, again, is very thorough, but you're doing this as a powerful being, right? So we get you into the place where you can actually be witness observer, and I'm going to teach you. And in the call, I'll guide you, but I'll teach you so you can go back and do this. We're diving really deep. It's on a level in which you don't have to go into the old pain to re-experience it. But we do have to have you going into an intensive. It's a 2-hour intensive. And what we're doing is we're working on, the wounded aspects. So what we see is that there's levels of betrayal within the self. You have, at different times in allowing the experience to happen, you've been betrayed. Sometimes you've betrayed yourself. You've made choices that weren't healthy for you. You've been betrayed by another person. Or you have felt betrayed by the divine, maybe with a loss, or maybe, a child's been taken from you or something like that. So there's a deep level of grief and trauma around that. So we want to work on these aspects that have been betrayed, that have been wounded. the wounded child, the wounded teenager, the wounded woman, the wounded divine heart, right? That divine feminine, that wounded feminine aspect. And as a collective, we know they've been broken down, needing to go into the heart. We need to repair the heart space so you can actually evolve yourself into the being that we know you're capable of being vibrationally. So when we shift at the vibrational level, you see, we're shifting all of the energies inclusive in an experience, past life, genealogical, parallel, wherever that is. If you had an experience of that date rape, I've worked with someone in helping clear a gang rape. I mean, this is intense, right? If it can shift that level of intensity, then it can shift anything from being forced to do something, right? I remember even the experience where I was sitting at the table and I didn't want to eat this certain kind of greens that my mom had put down. And I sat there stubbornly. And then I sat there until I got hurt. It's like, I'm going to give you a spanking unless you eat this. And so imagine even being forced to do something like that. Energetically, when we are penetrated, again, something happens internally where we actually have a person leaving traces of their energy in our body. Right? And so we've got this whole perpetrator victim that we experience. We've got to shift that. So this looks into the depth of the personas. We literally clear those aspects. We look into the experience of the video or the imagery or the emotion that's a part of the collective experience. We transmute that and delete it fully and completely. Now, I want to tell you, this was a very deep process. It took me 16 years to get to the place where I am about, I guess it was maybe 4 years ago, when I actually was able to do this deletion process in a collective group. Before that, it was always one-on-one, right? And now the universe, I think we've all come to the place where we actually can clear the soul's energy. So no matter what has happened, if we have, been abused, if we've been used by another, if we've had our creative ideas just ripped out from under us, stolen, if we have been looked over, passed over, been, invisible in the eyes of others, those impact us deeply. And we need to shift that. So this is what we're doing. We're literally going to go in and we're going to clear. If we've had any kind of feelings of being bullied, we're also shifting that. Very powerful, very deep. So we want to really bring about then the healed aspect, healing the feminine, allowing the energy to flow through us, right? As the energy flows through, there's this beautiful dance that happens, right? It happens in your entire being. It's this yumminess, this juiciness of the feminine, and the light begins to flow through. And we can see that the masculine and the feminine, they have this new level of love and communion within your own self. As the masculine feeds off the light, is able to build a beautiful structure, to take a stand for you, to be your natural protector, and to be in recognition of the divine feminine that she is, so that that shift is a permanent shift. It's recovering your true self. It's recovering your true power on a bigger scale. So with all of us working together, we're making a shift for the universe in that place where our spiritual bodies can move into this greater level and greater dimension. We're also healing deep within the sacral, allowing that Kundalini energy to be activated, move up through our bodies, through our beings. We're saying yes to the universe. And we're ready to feel that level of light and passion in our bodies because we're really here to channel, right? We want to channel with volition. We want to be in volition with our future creation. It's a beautiful place to be. And in our environment, we want to feel comfortable. So the sexual healing workshop is all about that. We're going in, We're going to shift clear the relationships we've had, clear the sexual signatures that have been placed upon us. Every time we are in a lover relationship, or if we've been raped or, abused, or had any kind of experience where someone else has penetrated us, literally, physically, even putting their fingers in our mouths when we didn't want them to, they leave sexual signatures. It's like when a tree is carved. It's a carving in the body. So we have to draw out, clear up, clean up, and erase the sexual signatures. We've got to clean up and erase those old memories. We're going to delete them. And we have to transmute any of the anticipatory anxiety. You can imagine, as I was talking earlier about my ex-husband and how abusive he was, I was always looking over my shoulder in anticipation for something horrible to happen. I was weak, I was fragile, but I'm not that way anymore. I don't have to look over my shoulder. I'm plugged into my intuition. I know what happens when I feel something's off. I can trust my body again. Right? And so I want everyone to be able to feel that level of power and truth and recognize that you have the capacity to feel loved, lovable, right? To feel your body illuminated and to really allow yourself to experience the wavelengths of vibration, not only moving through your own body, but your capacity to make an impact on the world, to shine your light and to allow that light energy to move out and to flow. So that's it, activating that beautiful divine high priestess self of the feminine, the high priestess self, the one that holds the power, has the power, can function in the world, grounded, she's connected in, she's beautiful, high vibrational woman, connected into the spiritual realms. We're going to actually enliven and bring the high priestess to the forefront. And to have you know the divine spiritual practices that you've always known, how to channel the energy frequencies through your body and allow yourself to be in the oneness of the truth of masculine and feminine as higher self.
My goodness, it's so beautiful. I'm seeing templates. That's usually how I see the body, and I'm seeing like the before and after templates. And the before is where the body is closed off, and the after is just that radiant feminine energy flowing through the body and really lighting somebody up from the inside out, from that space of, like you talked about, really being at peace in the body and not having that hypervigilance going on. It's so beautiful. Now, I want to ask you about something. Because what I was also seeing is there's almost this shadow energy that looks like it comes down. I'm really very good about seeing the lockdown in the body, but I saw this shadow-like energy. So if somebody doesn't do the deletions, if they're not clearing the whole root and clearing the images that you talked about and releasing the emotion to the depth that you're taking people through with this workshop, is it almost as if they are haunted by the memories of these experiences, and even memories to the point that sometimes it feels like reliving them?
Yes, and it can be disabling, right? And our roles are affected by the programming of fear, abandonment, financial insecurity. What we start to see is that the fears can overpower us and they go into the cellular structure. And if we are comparing ourselves to others and we are holding all of this, the trauma, right? If we're holding that trauma, if we don't fully erase it, we're always including that in what we're comparing ourselves to. Does that make sense? So if we're holding all of this in our being as us, instead of taking charge of it, then we think and we include that is us. And when we compare ourselves to others, we never add up. We never are good enough. And it literally can go deep down in. So again, what we see is that we can be controlled by the fears. We can be controlled by a level of trust, blame, guilt, shame that's come upon us. It really has us impacted in the sacral chakra as well. We can't open up to manifesting the money. We can't manifest the relationships, the passion, it's not there, right? And the feeling of pain or discomfort in especially the sacral chakra, the locations of the body. And this doesn't just have to be a woman, it can be a man as well, right? Intestinal issues. So we see that there's an indication that there's emotional energy that still needs to be cleared, locked pain in the lower back, big. So this is all where trauma sits. Lower back pain, high association with money issues, among other things. Not being able to safely express the emotions. The lower body's holding on to the emotions until you're ready to process them. So unexpressed, unprocessed emotions don't go away. They take up residence in your energetic and physical body, right? So that's what's really happening. They have to shift it.
Well, we don't want to get in that cycle of what we think is processing the emotions and then having to keep doing it over and over again. So I love the depth. I mean, I'm so grateful that we get to benefit from all your years of experience in honing this process. And then all of us coming to a space where collectively this can be done so efficiently. So instead of running around, almost like trying to run away from the shadow or then feeling like I have to process all this energy, it's like I can just take advantage of this efficient process that you've put together and be free. Just, really let it release and be held. So beautiful. I mean, just to I see the beauty of what's on the other side of that for everyone. And I know I'm grateful. And I'm also grateful because there's another surprise that you haven't mentioned yet that I see here.
Yes. So with this, I want everyone to know that I feel so deeply about this work. I don't want you going it alone. So I'm opening this up so that you can bring a friend for free. So, if you have someone that your sister or someone else that you can go into this with them, you've got your support system there with you. Again, I don't want to make this like it's really big and scary. You're going to feel comforted in the container that has been created. You're going to feel the essence of your angels around you. We've set it up. It's safe. It's got healthy boundaries. It's really exciting to actually get in there and finally do the things that are going to dramatically shift the experience of something emotional or traumatic that you've been through. Or again, like we said, even if you're that person that's like, I've had the perfect life in this lifetime as a child, but you've had some experience where I feel it in my ancestral timeline. I feel it in my past life timeline. This is for you to trust again, to feel free in your body and to feel light. So if you get this, you're going to also get a friend for free, okay? So that's really important because I wanted to offer it. So jump on that right now before that goes away and be able to offer it. Otherwise, if you email me and say, well, I don't have anyone that I want to bring on, I want to donate that. We have an angel program, and every once in a while what happens is we have people that reach out to us that have had really traumatic experiences, and so we will gift them this, okay? So you can put that in our little bank it's our little angel bank that we have for someone else that we can share this with that maybe financially doesn't have the means to do it or has really gone through it and been traumatized. A lot of times these are our college students that don't have a lot of money, but that really need help and support. So we appreciate that.
Wow, that is so generous. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Christel. There's also a lot of extra bonuses and things that look like they're going to support people even beyond the workshop. So that's amazing too. Those are available to look at on that page there. Christel, I want to take one more question. I want to have you answer this one more question. This is Glenn from Canada. He says, hi, Christel. I was wondering if you could tell me where are violations of my spirit being held? You've told me I'm a wizard, but I still don't feel it, and I would like to be able to open my gifts to share them with the world. Namaste, love and blessings, Glenn.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I have to warn everyone about is the whole idea of not being able to feel it or not being able to feel the gifts. That's the beauty of being in a community like Academy for the Soul, where we are feeling it for you. We're knowing it for you until you get there, right? It's not just you're going to be told you're this wizard and boom, I feel like a wizard and now I'm going to do wizard stuff, you know? And I know that you know that, Glenn, but, you know, that's what I want to caution you, that you're not using that as a reason why not to move down your path and to allow us to support you coming out as that, right? So just FYI for everyone, watching the personas and what they say to you that would not have you feel ready, that would not have you feel worthy, okay? So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. So let's just check and see energetically, looking in at the violation. It's in the mental body. And this is one of manipulation, right? This is one in which, again, I spoke to this briefly, where you were promised something. Like, if you act in these ways, then I'm going to give you this as your gift, right? As your what is the word that what I'm trying to come up with here? It's like, you know, this is your benefit. You do this, and then it should add up to that. Yeah, right. Like, I mean, all of us, it's like, oh, go to college, become this, and then you're going to do that, right? And now it's like, there's no job, right? You know, it doesn't add up to that. I'm in jail now. I'm in this corporate jail job. So, you know, one of the things we have to see is that you had promises made to you. They weren't fulfilled upon. You started that road, going down the road of not trusting. You started not believing people when they told you something. There's incongruencies that happen in the environment. So what did that tell you? You're not safe. You can't believe them. It's this feeling of incongruency deep within your being, where it's a distrust. And what I want to say is that it's pervasive in our world. We can't trust the people that we're supposed to trust. You know, the people that are in power, they say something, they promise something, they don't know, and they really don't know. So we have to stop expecting that from them, right? It really is us taking back our own power, doing the work that we need to do to come into the truth of ourselves and what we know is true. And so this is what we're all about. So, yeah, I think it's going back, making sure that you're getting that in that past life, healing that up, and then bringing that persona back around to really aligning with truth and trust, and now using it in a different way, that your body is going to be that calibrator of truth, where you can come into alignment, and then you'll just know in the moment, and that's going to help you moving forward on your path, so that you can always recognize it immediately. Okay, it's going to have you feeling good within your own body.
Beautiful. So the question that I read, and I gave a short answer, but you can speak to this. Christel's read some people after talking about her special offer. Will her package dress issues she mentioned on the calls and web messages? Yes. So you've done readings for people after going over your special offer. Those readings that you're doing, is your sexual healing workshop going to help them with those readings that you're doing? What's showing up?
Oh, yes, that's what I was saying. You know, if you've gotten the reading, now you know what needs to be cleared. And in the whole workshop, we're actually doing it's a combination of many healings. Again, this is going to be a full 2 hours, right? And what we can see is that we have to do soul integration. So we've got to work on the personas. We've got to shift the sexual signatures and erase them. We've got to sever the ties that might be binding you in the past through experiences and cords. We've got to extract the perpetrator's energy. So literally, if you have been a victim to the perpetration, or, look, this can be someone in your life that's really friggin' controlling. We're going to be extracting and pulling out that energy. And so, this is something that is technical. Everyone can do it. I'm there to help to guide you, but know that we're really going to be shifting, clearing it, and then deleting out of your timeline, and making sure that the future timeline that you're actually going down is in alignment with your soul, not something that a lower self or your personas made up and created. No temporary timeline, right? We want you on that timeline that really is going to lead you to the path of you awakening and coming into the truth. So we'll do this, we'll create this whole new version of your empowered self. And like I said, we'll work on bringing that divine feminine presence into being so that we're all now in a healthy, vibrant, intuitive, flowing, powerful, nurturing, smart, beautiful, feminine energy. And that is our contribution to the world, right? So that's what the world needs now, and that's who we're going to become, and carry that energy as a vibration and come into wholeness, because these fractured off parts of us, that are holding the pain, that are holding the suffering, you can't be whole and have these fractured parts. So we're addressing that, we're healing that. Everything will be done on that call.
And Christel, thank you so much for your time. We've been on here for quite a while now, and I appreciate all the energy, all the passion that you've brought forth to this topic. I know it's a tough one. I know it's tough to face these heavy energies, these deep wounds, but I'm also very, very grateful that you're available, providing that container, and especially as someone who's gone through it yourself. You're not just up here, giving a how-to. You've lived it and you've moved through it, and now you know how to help all of us do the same. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate the loving passion that you bring and the energy you bring, and I know that's available in the workshop. So again, if you want to really let go of these deep patterns, the deep clearing, and really set yourself free, just as Christel has, you can join her for that workshop, and you get to bring a friend for free. So thank you for that, Christel. Again, thank you for your time. Is there anything that you want to share in these final moments here together?
I want to bow in just, deep awe of the souls that are present here on this call, because you have incarnated in such a time. There's so much turmoil, but you're such a beautiful, bright soul to have incarnated and to be willing to be here, to move through these deeper traumatic experiences. And I want you to know that I so appreciate that. I thank you for your contribution of your consciousness. My greatest desire is for you to be able to be free, to be in the loving relationship of your own masculine and feminine with the divine, to know what it is to play and dance in that freedom of expression, creativity, the power to be in your magic, the magic of your divinity, to allow those creations to truly reflect who you are, the depth of your soul, and to let that desire come to the forefront right now. This is my offering to you. This is my blessing for you to have that and to say yes to yourself. And be brave. Continue to be brave. Be willing and be brave. And I know that your soul knows how. So if I can be an inspiration, if I can be a support, and if I can especially guide you and help you through this, it is my pleasure. Thank you, Amanda. And thank you to the Academy for the Soul and all of those practitioners that work tirelessly, endlessly, all the healers Thank you to the Divine Feminine, Divine Mother, Divine Father for allowing us to get to this place where we actually have tools to make a big, massive shift and change, and to do it in such a loving, beautiful way, in the feminine way. Yes, hallelujah. So thank you again. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone.
My pleasure. Oh, you said it so well. So I'm just going to wrap up with a beautiful, I want to echo what Christel said. Thank you, all of you, for being here, for being present, for being brave, to really look at these deeper dynamics and to take the action to move through them. It's so important. And if we all do it together, we create greater freedom that ripples out and allows others who've experienced similar traumas and abuse and really deeply traumatic issues in their lives to step forward in their freedom as well. And I just, I see the end result. I see everybody sparkling and lit up with the loving support and guidance of Christel taking everyone through. So again, Christel, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, again. So much love from my heart to yours. Many, many blessings.